Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. inplayLIVE podcast. He's Andrew Pace. I'm Tom Ritzker, aka Ritzker. We got some gurus going on. Not a sponsor
Yet
at Guru. Anyone in Vancouver, let us know. Week 2, back already. That flew by. Week 1, we did a little bit of an introduction. inplayLIVE, what we're about, what the goal of the program, the community is. If you haven't watched that yet, go to the YouTube channel, check it out. Everything is inplayLIVE, YouTube, Insta, Facebook, and inplaylive.com. Click the bell to subscribe and follow us and like our stuff. This week, we're going to talk a bit more about something that is a huge challenge, I think, for people that are going from recreational betting into sports value investing, and something that I think that even the sharps, the pros, have to learn to get better at in order to optimize their business, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're looking at sports value investing, you have to treat it like every dollar in and every dollar out is a cash flow. It's a part of your business transactions as a sports value investor. And so we're going to talk about money management.
Boom.
So a couple things I wanted to chat about today: worst and best losing runs, maybe just a couple stories from yourself, from experience. I know there's highs and lows. You shared some with the group recently. I've watched a couple, actually yesterday I watched a really interesting one. Dana White playing blackjack, and he lost $1 million in one night, but then in the same 2 weeks, it was kind of a bragging video. He got a call from a casino saying that you are no longer welcome to play blackjack because he took him for like 6 or 7 million in a week.
Has he ever said what he's doing, or
he didn't say, but
right?
I mean, he's just
He's probably found an edge.
Yeah,
he's got a system, right?
Yeah,
so like, I don't know if you've heard of the Phil Ivey story.
Not Ivy, I don't think. But.
I mean, Ivy's one of these guys. He's one of the sharpest guys in the world. You know, there's famous Las Vegas Strip security guys basically that say, I wouldn't let Phil Ivey play slots in my casino. And the slots are obviously...
He's like a math super genius.
Right, so
yeah.
he was doing card edging.
Yeah.
Right, where you look at the edge of the card and where the circles of that type of deck line up with how the cards were cut, so that you can tell what's coming.
How do you even do that? Is he like autistic?
Well, he had a team, right?
Okay.
So he's been in lawsuits now for years trying to get his money. $24 million he's owed, right? So
he's made that and some in in that time. But
and the point is, he's not playing a table game that you or I would play.
Yeah. He's
played one where he's created an edge for himself, which is of course what we do.
Yeah.
When it comes to sports betting. Right?
Yeah. And with money management, another one that came to mind. You've watched the Daniel Negreanu documentary, right?
Probably. Yeah.
The one. Okay. Anyways, in that documentary, if anyone who doesn't know, Daniel Negreanu is one of the most famous poker players probably of all time.
Yep.
He's won multiple World Series, all that sort of stuff, hundreds of millions of dollars. But in his documentary, it talks about how I think 2 or 3 times he was living in Toronto. He's Canadian. He flew to Vegas with all his money and had to go home and move back into his basement to start over. And he went back and went back and went back. And so, money management, right?
100%. Yeah.
So
I have seen that.
Yeah, you have.
I've seen that, yeah.
So I think that like where I want to start with this is going from recreational betting to sports value investing, because a lot of the people who are watching this content, subscribing to the community, are kind of getting their feet wet, starting to learn and really changing their religion when it comes to how they look at sports betting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so there's a lot of key differences when you look at how you manage your money in that sense, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you're a recreational bettor, you're just going in every week with like, hey, I got $50, I got $100 that I'm willing to light on fire, to bet with my friend, to bet with a website, throw a parlay together, teaser together, whatever it is, to saying, okay, I'm going to take this $100 and how can I now turn it into something while still applying the joys of watching sports and taking part in the action, but like treating that like this money is meant to be grown. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to invest this money in something and make calculated decisions as you would with, I guess, likening it to a stock or something that you see you feel like you have an edge on, right?
Right.
So what would you say, like starting off, what is a big part of changing the mindset of saying this money is just completely throwaway, it's recreational, to saying, okay, now how can I conserve this money and build it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think when it comes to money management as kind of an overall sort of statement, it doesn't matter if it's stocks, it doesn't matter if you're betting on sports or anything else with the intent of it to grow. If you have the mindset of throwing it all into one individual, whether that's a business, whether that's a bet, whatever the case may be, you of course run the risk of losing it all.
Mm-hmm.
And the time-tested method of poor gambling involves chasing, which typically starts with a loss of something you were comfortable with and then turns into a loss far greater than what you intended to. And of course, money management is completely out the window. I think one of the biggest differences when it comes to me and our system that we teach versus, we're just going to say, the rest of the sports gambling world, as opposed to, I'm not talking about the money management systems that other pros use. I'm talking about just the generic sort of rest of the sports gambling world, is that when it comes to money management, it doesn't even matter what system you follow too much. It's about following it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So I've seen a ton of pros out there where they say, whatever your budget is, whether it's $50, $1,000, $100,000, one unit is 1%. That's a very standard thing that you'll see. But then in their recommendations, they'll say, bet 5 units on this game, bet 10 units on this game, bet 1 unit on this game, bet 0.5 units on this game.
Right.
I don't want to even say the guy's name, but he's, ultimate scammer in the industry. So I'm not even going to give him the credit of him being on our podcast, but sometimes he'll say 30 units, and he recommends 2% per unit. And you do the math, and in one night, he's recommended over 100% of your bankroll if you just add it all up.
If you add up all his picks.
Yeah, so that's not money management. But whether it's that 1% or what I recommended in inplayLIVE, I say max 2.5%. I think one of the biggest differences is that we don't make 2, 3, 4, 5 unit like plays or slams. Let's say for whatever reason that you believe the New York Yankees tonight are a 5-unit play and they're paying minus 135 or 1.7 in decimal odds at the start of the game. I'm just not comfortable with losing 5 units on that one game, right? Yeah. So we're always half unit or 1 unit kind of stuff. And the big thing with money management is whatever your system is. Like truly, if you have never done this in your life before and you're like, how am I going to deploy my money right now? You do a tiny little bit of research and you go out and you stick to that money management system. That's what differentiates you. It's not the system that differentiates you, it's your own discipline. We have had so many members simply say the biggest change in my success was the fact that I'm now using money management systems.
Yeah.
And so many members at the same time where they say their biggest flaw is they've won money with me, but they can't stay disciplined outside of my picks.
Yeah, it's almost like if you make your paycheck and then you stop going out for a couple weeks and you don't spend money, it feels like you're making more, right? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
We all have those times.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I need to tighten up my belt. But it's like when you're
Yeah.
doing this, it's exactly the same thing. Every additional pick that you make for let's say it's for no reason, not an actual value wager,
Yep.
is just risking that money for no reason, right? You're just putting money in a slot machine, essentially.
Well, I mean, it is with the intent to win. I think one of the biggest differences, of course, is that outcome-oriented thinking, where people are like, the Yankees are going to win tonight.
Yeah.
Whereas we will never, ever say that. And if you get caught saying that in our group, you get called the hell out. It isn't that the Yankees are going to win. It's that the number on the Yankees implies success in a fashion that will win us money over time.
Yeah.
Which, for that particular team, oftentimes is not the case, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of public money on them driving their value down, right?
Yeah.
Of course, there are exceptions, but yeah, that's kind of the general statement. Yeah.
So let's come back one step to units, right? You just dive into that. For anyone who hasn't doesn't speak the language, basically what we're talking about is a percentage of your bankroll that you are allocating towards each individual wager, right?
And your bankroll being the money that you're comfortable with losing, that you've deployed across all your sports books.
Exactly.
And your unit being one small percentage or fraction of that total bankroll that you're now risking on any one individual wager.
Exactly.
Right?
And I think as a sidebar, something that is worth noting too is that, and you did talk about this in the live streams and whatnot, but it doesn't matter if your bankroll is a couple $100, and you're making $1 and $2 bets to start, or if you're a guy who's walking in there with 10 grand ready to deploy, right?
Right.
Stick to that system.
Right.
And don't try to catch up with somebody who's been doing it for 5-10 years all in one day.
Exactly.
That is such a quick way to go through it and make it a sour experience, right? So part of that is a crucial part of, if you actually care about taking part in this system and this approach, is that, like, this is my budget, these are the realities of my situation, here's what I got to start at.
Exactly.
And build it up, right?
Exactly. So on that note, I get asked this question all the time. How much money do I need to start with for my bankroll?
Yeah.
And I've had people where the perception of what I do, they think you need hundreds of thousands of dollars. So people have messaged me saying, I got $100K ready to go.
Yeah.
Like, let's go. To that person, I would actually say, you have too large of a bankroll. You're going to start out, and if you're slamming these massive wagers on, in-play-live markets, they won't even accept your wager. Most of it will be asked to be referred to a trader and declined. On the flip side of that, I typically will say we have members that have started with as little as $100 or $200. But this particular member, his name's Jason. Shout out to Jason for letting me read this today. He wrote this on his own accord. I didn't ask for him to write it. Thank you for the amazing read today, Andrew. It really shows that not every day is going to be perfect. That was after I discussed one of my losing runs, which we can touch on shortly here.
Yeah.
We all know that we all know that what we might think happened before the game could be completely different than once the game starts. Yesterday was great for me. I identified opportunities. Those particular opportunities are specific strategies reserved for our members. Combined with other games, I stayed smart with my money and was able to capitalize. Had the best day I've ever had, doubling my balance and adding another $6,000 to my bankroll in just one day. So he goes on from there, and in the end, he gives a breakdown of his funds when he started. So he started in August with $50, and he's turned it into $15,000. And the thing is that anyone that hears that, you're like, okay, that's just, they're lying. He's not, like, they're scammers, he's lying, it's not true. But the point is that when you have $50 to start with, and your unit wager is $1, right, it can so quickly turn into $100 bankroll, $1,000 bankroll, and so on and so forth. And now he's at that $15,000 bankroll. So his units have literally grown from $100 to over $250 in a couple of months. He is like a model member. So he has followed the system religiously. He's listened to me religiously. I've taken phone calls with him, but he's done ridiculously well. And I think that to the point of money management, he's followed that unbelievably well, and he's grown his bankroll over time. So when you come in with a small amount, as long as you still stick to those unit wagers and percentages, those percentages grow, and you can make a significant impact on your financial well-being. When you talk about someone who's coming in with a budget of $50 or $100, that is not uncommon, but that is not a person who has tens of thousands of dollars put away. That's someone who we have, through our money management system and through the value wagers that we identify, is able to make a significant impact on their life.
And I think that, like, very openly talk about, like, it's important for people to know, this is an avenue in which you can make supplementary income or primary income even in some cases, but don't come into it and say, hey, I have $100 grand, I'm going to try and make 10 grand a month right off the bat out of nowhere, right? Because that's just such a blind jumping into the pool, like, how the hell is that? How do you back calculate that without putting pressure and putting yourself in tough situations and all that sort of stuff, right? So
yeah, exactly.
I think that's also kind of like a side piece as well, and being completely open and not telling people, hey, look, I'm going to make you 20 grand this month. It's like, well, where are you starting? How are you starting? How are you growing? Can I help you make 20 grand in a couple months? Absolutely, if you stick with it and you do it
but
right.
It's not guaranteed.
But it's not guaranteed.
Right? We have no control over what you're doing with your money.
Absolutely.
And I can't control as to whether this will work over time. Coming back to money management, if you break down your bankroll into 100 different units, so that being 1%, you can go on runs where you lose 100 wagers in a row. It's 100% possible, right? Flip a coin 10,000 times, right? And see how many times within that sample size heads appears, 3 times in a row, 4 times in a row, 10 times in a row. They're mutually exclusive. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
And that's a coin flip. For those of you that have seen our Instagram account and seen some of the odds that we've posted our winnings at, right? A lot of them aren't coin flips, right? We'll get odds of, 3 or 4 to 1 sometimes on a theoretical coin flip, but sometimes we're taking odds at 10, 20, 80 to 1. Those aren't coin flips, right?
It's picking a card almost, sometimes even.
Yeah, but there's theoretical value there.
Yeah.
But you can miss 100 of those in a row, no problem, right? So when it comes to money management, you need to understand that when you're making the right decision on a wager, not the wrong decision, the right decision, and that isn't about the outcome, that's about the number. When you make that decision and you make it consistently over time, you're going to be okay. But you have to have the bankroll to manage it. And I don't mean a large bankroll. I mean that the unit sizes that you're wagering aren't decimating your bankroll, right?
Yeah. So then how do you decide, like, hey, I'm on a bit of a slide, I need to scale my units down. Hey, I'm on a hot streak, I'm going to start pushing my units up. Is there like a trigger for you that you stick by, or is it more of a feel thing? What would you say to people who are kind of like, hey, I'm Jason, for example, I'm on that good streak and I've done well. When do I say, hey, now it's really time to start, if I want to up the ante and kind of build this thing, what's that point?
Yeah, so I think on that note, I think it's good to kind of just tell people what my week was like last week. And what Jason wrote to us, he goes on to say that last Sunday he lost $400, Tuesday he lost $500, Wednesday he lost $400, amidst, making decent money on Monday and Friday, and then huge money on Saturday and Sunday. So it isn't like it's all sunshine and rainbows. So for me personally, I think one thing you said, you skipped over it really quickly, but it was probably the most significant thing. You said, when do you scale back?
Yeah.
Right? Well, no one, like gamblers don't scale back. They go, there's 20,000 in my account. It just turned to 19. I need to wager enough to cover that loss. It just turned to 15. I need to wager enough to cover that loss.
It's like always about getting back to 500, or, if you're down, getting back to where you were, right? There's that push, that urge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ugly.
Well, it's a huge part of gambling, right? When dopamine is released in the brain, that's something that we as human beings are addicted to, and we get it in so many different ways. But when our wager loses, right? When our wager loses, right, we automatically think, okay, I need something else now. You want that feeling again, you chase that feeling, but accompanied with that is also, I need to get my money back, right? So for me personally, last week I had roughly $7,000 across all of my accounts deployed at that particular time. So some people that hear my results, you might be like, oh, 7,000, that's nothing. And that's because I had done a withdrawal previous to that, and that was kind of the active amount of money that I had, and all I ever need for that matter.
Yeah.
So the 7,000 just shot up like a rocket to 12,000 for Monday Night Football last week, which was awesome. Great start to the week. And then throughout the week, I had unbelievable success with the MLB playoffs. Unbelievable success betting on underdogs.
The dogs all won last week.
Even if they didn't win, the ones that did win covered the losers, and we were also doing some stuff inside of the game on those underdogs that were awesome. That fully balanced out by me betting on the Heat in games 1 and 2. So, and I don't mean one unit on them to cover the spread or on them to win. I was betting in-game on the Miami Heat and striking out in game 1 and 2. And that all came back and then some in game 3 when the Miami Heat won and won throughout the game.
Yeah.
So, with that said, that balance of about $12,000 just basically stayed stagnant until the weekend. And then Saturday hit, and Saturday morning was awesome. Saturday afternoon was just freaking something out of the scene. Like, I describe it as something Las Vegas would want to play to encourage people to come gamble in Las Vegas.
Right, a commercial for winning.
Yeah, so I shot up to $24,000 like that on Saturday afternoon betting on NCAA college football. And that was awesome. I think I finished Saturday at about 22,000. So I gave a few units back to the house, betting on a few of our strategies, and of course they don't always win. So Sunday came around, and Sunday was just one of these days where you have to sometimes reflect on what you're doing, give your head a shake, and really look at, you know, what the hell's going on. Are you making the right decision or are you not? Because that 24,000 that was 22 in the morning was at the snap of a finger, it felt like it was 12,000. So by the time the afternoon rolled around, I'd lost $10,000 on Sunday, which for me is about 20 units. So that's the reality of this, right? And you're so naive to think anything else, to think that you just win all the time. Like, I've seen members in our group be like, oh, I just lost 3 wagers in a row, I'm going to take a break. And then they miss out on when those coin flips turn, when the tails start falling, right? So for me, to answer your question, at that point, when I saw 12,000, it sucks. No one likes that feeling. But for me, I'm so used to it, right? I'm so unbelievably used to it. I see that, you know, that account balance cut in half, and that's where I go, what the hell am I doing? And in my particular case, on that day, I actually looked at what I was doing, and I looked at a few of the strategies I was making, and they were not what I call value wagers that win me money over time. They were bad bets. Yeah. And I wasn't chasing. I wasn't doing anything that's really like that wrong. What I didn't do was adapt. Okay? So that's where I had my reset moment. I was like, okay, my unit size is now no longer $500 right now. It's now $250. That's the opposite of what someone else would do. The other thing you could do in that circumstance is you could call it a day and just say, hey, you know what? This isn't for me today. In my particular case, whenever I've gone on a losing run with my system and doing what I know works, it turns around, and it turns around so freaking fast. So I actually ended on a losing day Sunday. I did not make money on Sunday. I think I ended up losing about $2,000. But between halftime in the afternoon games and the Sunday night game, and by the end of the Sunday night game, I had almost gotten it all back. I was down a few units by the end of the day. Then Monday Night Football rolled around, and Monday Night Football was just freaking incredible. It was incredible. So way up from there. And, you know, on to the next. But I think the point of that all is that, number one, losing runs are just so normal. That's the second big losing run this football season, where, you know, I literally saw 5 figures disappear. And that's happened to me twice this football season, in 3 weeks. So that includes both. One of them was in college and one of them was in the NFL. In the college scenario, I ended up way up on the day, despite being down 5 figures. In the NFL, like I said, I ended up having my first losing Sunday, but overall, like, way up on the week. And then if you count Monday in the week, then way up.
But two key things there is that you're sticking to the recipe. You're not changing your formula, and you're not increasing your bets by any means on a losing run.
I'm not trying to get it back in one wager, ever, never.
Or even
never.
one day, or even 1 week, per se. Like, you know, if you're on a bad run, right? It's about sticking to those fundamentals and kind of resetting and understanding that strategy has paid off.
So if you're a recreational bettor or gambler, or, you know, someone that doesn't win over time, and you're hearing that story and it encourages you to keep going, that is not the intent of that story. No. Right? The intent of this story is really to show you guys that and gals, if and only if you're doing all the right things, then a losing run is just par for the course. Right. I'm planning on having one this week. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And, you know, you talk to anyone who's in any sort of sports, athletics, cards, poker, right? All those sorts of things where you're putting those risks and you're making those calculations. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. Yeah. Every single time.
This is the thing about money management. You could be the best motherfucking gambler on this planet. The best.
Who's that guy, Don?
Stu Unger?
No, I'm trying to think of the Don. Anyways, go ahead.
You could be the best gambler on the planet, right? Without money management, you will fail. Yeah. You will fail, period. So if you find value wagers that make you money 99% of the time, which is never the case, you know, it's usually something like 55, let's even call it 60. But if you find them 99% of the time, with the volume that you're betting as a professional, the 1% hits. And if you're overexposed to the 1% or the 40%, you go broke, right? Mississippi Grind, it's on Netflix, so anyone can check it out, right?
It's a great flick.
It's a great
Yeah.
film, and it's all about gambling. I don't know the main character's name, so I can't say exactly who it is. But he's...
Danny from Bloodline. I never
It's Danny from
yeah,
Bloodline!
yeah,
Oh, he's such a good actor. Oh, he's so good.
Isn't it Ryan Reynolds, too?
Ryan Reynolds is
Yeah,
in it,
yeah.
They're always drinking Woodford. I prefer Michter's myself. But now,
So good.
point being, he is at the poker table, and he has his entire bankroll on the table with him. He runs it up. He makes all the right decisions, and the only way he can lose is a 2-outer. So one specific card on the turn, one specific card on the river, 1 over 50 times 1 over 50. So you're less than 1% of it happening, and of course it's a movie, but it happens in real life too. You play enough poker, boom, heart sinks, boom, heart sinks, and your whole bankroll's gone. Whereas if you're a professional with money management, it doesn't matter if it's poker, sports betting, investing, day trading, doesn't matter. If you have your funds deployed properly, not all in one business, not all in one bet, not all on the poker table at one time, that would just be a bad beat. He would lose 5% of his bankroll. I think that's typically what they recommend for poker. Bring 5% of your bankroll onto the table at once. You would lose 5% of your bankroll. You still have 95%. You made all the right decisions. You get up, you go home.
Yeah.
Have a glass of Woodford, and you go back the next day, and all is well.
That's the theme of all those, like Rounders, Mississippi Grind, all those movies. It's like the guy puts everything in, loses it all.
3 stacks of high society.
No one gets killed.
Yeah.
So I think that to tie this off, the biggest thing that differentiates and how you manage your money is to track it. And I think that's something
we haven't talked about tracking. Yeah.
No. And I think it's like the single most important thing is like, it's all great to talk about being disciplined, this and this, and like, yeah, maybe in your head you see go up, you go down, you know where you're at roughly, but if you don't track how much you've deposited, how much you've withdrawn, how much you have across all your books, you're just floating around in nothing, right? So if you want to actually be profitable in this, now, I know that you guys designed an awesome tracking tool that you'll give away to members, and is it even on the end of the webinar too?
It's given away in our webinar.
Yeah,
the link to our webinar is in the description of this
so
podcast.
Check that out.
Yeah.
That's an awesome tool, especially when you're getting started, because then you can start to see patterns.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things that I learned by using that tool. Number one, you can see exactly where you're doing well and where you're not doing well. You can start to gather your own data over time, right? Yeah. Let's say you bet on a different sport or a different league, or you're in a different country, whatever, right? You're tracking different books, all this stuff. Huge data. Without that, you're lost, right? And then ultimately seeing how your cash is flowing. How much have I deposited? What am I doing? Like, what are my patterns of behavior on a weekly, monthly, whatever basis, and managing those cash flows, right? Because without that accountability, you just get lost.
Think about your recreational sports bettor making parlays every single day, every single week, however it is. You know, maybe they just bet on football, but maybe they're making parlays through the week, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They think when they've hit a bet that they're a good sports bettor. That is one of the beauties of the sports betting industry. The casinos and the sports books get you to keep coming back because people actually win. You can be the worst sports bettor ever. You string together enough parlays, you're going to hit one, and you're going to turn 10, 25, 100, whatever it is that you bet.
Memento. You
into
just forget
hundreds.
Everything you ever lost.
You turn it into hundreds or thousands. But if you were to track all of that, and simply look at, you in that case, just look at deposits versus withdrawals.
Yeah.
You will see the true story, right?
Yeah.
And when it comes to tracking for me, one of the easiest ways, so this is the ultimate rec level of tracking. Export your deposits and withdrawals. You don't know where you won and lost, but for most of you, you could be like, holy shit, I could have $10,000 extra this year that I blew on sports betting like a freaking loser, moron, degenerate, right? That's the first thing, deposits versus withdrawals. That's to see if it's working or not. The second thing is when you actually categorize your wagers, right? Whether that's by league, by sport, by wager type, right? Maybe it's all pregame and it's all underdog money lines. Maybe that's your thing. Underdog money lines pregame. Track it. And then you can see, oh wow, I actually am consistently missing under these circumstances.
Yeah.
I'm consistently making money under these circumstances. You spin a few dials, and before you know it, you're on your way to making money sports betting, right?
Yeah.
So, it's like with anything in life. How are you going to know what to do if you didn't know what you did? So, yeah. Tracking is insane. Both money management, they're obviously go in tandem. Money management and tracking. We have chapters on both of these for our members inside of inplayLIVE, but I'll give away the secret from the inside right now. They're simple. Our tracking tool is simple.
Just do it.
It's about doing it.
Yeah.
Again, money management. Our money management, I'll give it away right now. Our money management is deposit an amount of money across the sports books that you are planning on using. We have recommendations for which ones to use. Deposit that money with the full knowledge and assumption that you're going to lose it. Of course, the intent is to make money, but the mindset is, I am okay if I lose this. Mm-hmm. It's not rent. It's not groceries. It's not new shoes for little Timmy. It's freaking money that you do not need. Period. Okay? Whatever amount that is. If it's $50, $100, $1,000, $100,000, I don't care. Once that money is across the books, your maximum unit wager, you can set it at 1%, 2%, but maximum is 2.5%. So if your budget is $1,000, that means your unit wagers are $25. That's it. That is it. Don't bet more than your unit size until your bankroll increases. And it's literally as simple as that. Again, the execution is what makes it brilliant.
That's the whole point of this, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that's a great way to cap it off. Because without without money management, none of it matters. You're just doing it for fun, right? So that's a good takeaway. Looking forward to this week.
Yeah,
we've got MLB on right now.
Let's touch on last week a little bit.
Yeah.
So NFL last week, I said was a losing day for me, but we had a monster night on Monday night. Tonyan, 3 touchdowns for the Packers. I caught one of those 3 at 17-1 for a full unit, $500 wager. So profited $8,000 there. Travis Fulgham from the Philadelphia Eagles, $500 on him. Anytime touchdown score, 17-1, $8,000 there. Boom, simple stuff.
Player yards, we did well again too.
Yep.
Tonyan, Valdez, Scantling, a couple other ones.
Yeah, player yards. Yeah, MVS, Tonyan. Those were really good. Monday Night Football was
Pats, Chiefs, and Falcons. Packers.
It was the doubleheader.
The Packers.
Yeah, it was the doubleheader. Okay, and then tomorrow night we have Bucks against the Bears, and I did one of the few games I did really well on this Sunday was the Bucks game. Their huge comeback, so that was awesome. And monster NCAA this weekend. SEC is obviously back. It was pretty funny to see a completely sold out crowd in Georgia. COVID, no one cares. Stadium was
70,000 people with a piece of paper saving their lives.
Stadium was shaken, but it was cool to see fans in sports again. So monster NCAA week ahead. For those of you that don't know, when you become a member of inplayLIVE, I stream live for the entire day of NCAA football.
It is a fucking marathon session.
But that's where our members make so much money.
I know.
Right? That's where
awesome.
Our members make so much money. I stream live for Thursday Night Football and Monday Night Football in the NFL. And then I post live value wagers for all the MLB playoffs and NBA. We got the Lakers looking to close it out up 3-1.
Yeah. Next week, I'm thinking we talk. I know something that's been a huge topic of discussion amongst especially the U.S. members is finding out what betting sites are available in certain regions. I'm going to do a dive into some research on that. But I know that there's some great sites. DraftKings has been big. Bovada's been all right. FanDuel's been actually really good for some guys.
BetMGM, Fox Bet.
Yeah, those are a couple more. And then a couple others that are kind of rolling out slowly. But
yep.
I thought that'd be a good topic to talk about and address for especially people south of the border that are looking for places to place these wagers, right?
Yeah, I think south of the border is huge, but I think the message really will transcend well to people in Canada, people in Europe as well, because when it comes to the books that you use, it's pretty important.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
So, yeah.
Cool. once again, check out the Insta, Facebook, subscribe, and you can use the promo code Ritzker Podcast for a discount for members.
40% off.
40% off. So jump in and join the next live session. That's going to be tomorrow night already. So
boom.
Get it going.
Boom.